Commissioner Carlson, Commissioner Mason,
Aye.
Commissioner Pye,
Yeah.
Commissioner Rivers, President for me.
Here. Pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're going to add item 2, the approval of minutes for the meeting.
Minutes.
To be them.
Commissioner Mason,
Aye.
Commissioner Pye,
Aye.
President for me.
Number 3, yes, welcome.
Not yet. Not yet. So,
Oh, yes.
a representative, yeah, they'll all be presenting. Jimmy and Esme are part of our finance team. They're Park District staff.
Good. Approval of the agenda. We need to vote on it.
Yeah, we should approve the agenda.
Commissioner Mason, Commissioner Pye,
Aye.
Commissioner Rivers, President for me.
And commissioner comments?
I gotta say, the lights was unbelievably nice. I probably shut down the drive quite so quickly and the light showed like I think your maintenance staff did a great job this year the Christmas lights.
I'll pass it on to Rich. I should say Rich has been out sick for a couple of days. He's got that bug that's going on. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the part was outstanding. The presentation, we had all the lights. I don't know. We always talk about how many lights somewhere. But I had a lot of comments from people. A lot of people who most of a lot of our residents don't know anything exists. For a lot of reasons. I'm talking about the outlines, subdivisions. I'm talking about and then they make an unfair comparison.
Yeah. Right.
It's not fair to the budget.
Right.
But for what we have for the city, it's just really a great presentation for holidays. And overall, the staff did a magnificent job with the holidays. I mean, we bought the food, the travel center, and best of time. The big switch on the lights, that was phenomenal. So, and that got us where he got us. The city. I think people look at the city as being representative. The mayor was there. And so the switch will be around for a while.
Mm-hmm. That's a goal.
That was unexpected. Great addition. And thanks to staff. Looking forward to the summer. Trying to get the board myself getting more involved with some of the issues maybe even with some of the meetings we have with the city and some other entities. So there's nothing else from commissioners. Move on to our report section and the attorney's report.
No report from the attorney.
Approval of expenditures. Item number 7.
I second that.
Mr. Mason? Mr. Hyde?
Aye.
President Bernie?
Yeah, I wanted to start with what's on the screen there, the CEJA grant. So we talked about it and we touched on it a little bit last meeting, right? So the CEJA grant is part of the Climate and Equitable Jobs Act that was signed into law by Governor Pritzker in March of 2023. The goal of that legislation, again, was to transition Illinois to a clean energy economy while investing in jobs and environmental support for underprivileged communities. A critical component in that legislation was the transition assistance for communities that are affected by fossil fuel or nuclear power plant closures, which obviously Zion was. And Representative Joyce Mason was key and the primary champion of the legislation to help bring the CEJA grant dollars to Zion and all the Zion taxing bodies, approximately $14 million per year until year 2045. And that $14 million gets split up amongst all the taxing bodies according to their allocation of the tax bill. So when we looked at that pie chart earlier, that $14 million gets split based on that percentage, basically. So we get approximately 6.7% of the $14 million. That comes out to approximately around $900,000-ish a year. We are now in year 3 of the CEJA grant. So in years 1 and 2, the grant was pretty much a straight grant where, it's a reimbursing type grant. We have to spend the money, justify the expenditures, submit all the expenditures to the Illinois DCEO, which is the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. They're the ones that really administer the grant and review everything, and then ultimately send the money to the different, taxing bodies. So in year 1, the Park District received $897,000 from the CEJA funds, and in year 2 we received $907,000. So the projects that we put forth, in those grant years, year 1 was pretty much Shiloh Park renovation. Year 2 was pretty much David Park renovation. So those were the receipts and the expenditures that we were, showing them for reimbursement. Now in year 3, there's a huge change in the grant, and that's what this graph shows here. Year 3, the CEJA grant is no longer a straight capital projects grant. So all the taxing bodies are required to abate taxes equal to 75% of their allocation, which means 25% is used for the capital project portion.
So what is the 75%?
So the 75% tax abatement means that, and this we'll talk about a little more in the bond portion of the meeting, that just directly reduces our property tax levy, the Park District's property tax levy. So let's say instead of the Park District, so if you look at the chart up there, DCEO has determined the required abatement amounts for each entity. Ours is, you can see $694,000. That's our required abatement amount to get the funds, which leaves $230-ish for capital. So that means that in our levy, and it is tricky, which we already filed in December, right? So we filed our levy in December because it's due pretty much around Christmas every year with the county. That levy is about $4 million. So what we'll do then is tell the county that, hey, don't levy $4 million, levy 3.3. Essentially. So that when you're asking where the dollars go, that's the best part about it, is they go back directly to the community, right? So it goes back directly on your tax bill as a reduction in your tax bill, essentially.
That was the hardest thing to explain because we've been saying for a while that this tax reduction was small.
Yeah.
No one was seeing it.
Correct. Yeah, I think that was the perception. Immediately when they heard that, the CEJA grants are coming out, right, here comes the property tax relief, right? But the grant was, like I said, in year 1 and 2, a lot of entities, including us, put those dollars toward capital projects, right? Because we have us, the school districts, whoever, has a lot of capital needs and had no way to save for the dollars. So those like injections were very helpful, right? I think we used ours, in a really great way that delivered value to the public in both parts. But then, right, the people were saying, where's the tax relief portion? When's that going to happen, right? So legislature, again, primarily Joyce Mason, rewrote the grant with that tax abatement requirement, right? So one of the things that, they didn't think about when they came up with this, because the tax levy formula is so complicated that, and they're working to correct it now, but I think on our side the numbers work out well, so it's kind of like a difficult strategy that we've been thinking about for a number of months and talking with Aaron and talking with, the county and DCEO and everyone like that. So the problem with the tax abatement as it sits now is when you abate taxes, your next year's levy is based on the prior year's amount, right? It can only go up a small percentage, which is like the PTO cap, right? So if an entity takes their levy down, I mean, when you look at some of the abatement amounts required from like the schools, I mean, District 6 is looking at 4.2 million of abatement, and D126 is looking at 2.5. So if their levy goes, if they abate and then their levy goes down, well, the current formula says you can only go up from last year's base. So that's where over the last 3 months or so, maybe 4 months, a lot of us have been talking, like all the taxing body leaders that get together, and we said this is a problem, right? And no one is going to cut off their future, levy capacity for this. For the park district, the numbers work well because we can actually abate that in our bond fund, which is outside of those cap funds. So there's a lot going on, but so if you have a handful of funds here, so this would be like our general fund, rec fund, audit fund, social security fund, and then that is your cap. You can only go from those, the total of those. But then down here are your bond and interest fund, and that falls outside of the cap. So if you bring that down, it doesn't affect the others. So for us, fortunately, the numbers work well to where like that's the direction we've been going on this abatement. And in the meantime, our group, has still been trying to figure out a long-term solution, talking with Joyce Mason and DCEO and the attorneys at the state. They're rewriting, and that legislation is already proposed. They're rewriting a specific in there to say if you abate funds as part of like the CEJA grant, basically, that abatement doesn't count. Like your base can stay. So
Yeah, I was wondering about this. Fix it.
Yeah.
I guess a huge amount. Can you see why they would write that?
Well, when they passed it, with the 75% abatement, they just didn't think about the levy formula. They didn't realize that. And then, like I said, our group, a lot of us have brought up that concern. Obviously, the high schools and schools. So they have a fix, and they have it already drafted. It just needs to get passed through legislature, and hopefully it does. And then hopefully all the other entities do their piece on the abatement, because then the community will see a significant reduction in their property tax. So that's an update on CEJA. We have kind of multiple steps. Step one will be to issue bonds, and then in the February meeting, we would actually pass our abatement. We would actually pass our abatement ordinance that says, yes, we want to abate $694,000.
That'll be next month.
That would be at the February meeting. Because again, talking with Aaron, talking with the lawyer, we can't do the abatement at this meeting tonight because we have to issue the bonds first, and they have to settle, which I think is like a February 5th date or something like that. So the bonds have to settle before we can abate them. We can't do the abatement tonight. So that's why it's February for the abatement, and then that has to be filed with the county by the end of February. So all the timelines are really strict. The abatement has to be in by the end of February with the county for it to be processed and not collected out. Oh yeah, yeah. And then in the meantime, all the grant forms and paperwork and everything that Case would put together, I know she had to sign tonight too. That's due like mid-February. So,
I got a couple of questions.
mhm.
The 231, 385.85,
Mhm.
that will be the lose if we go for the rock.
No, we won't lose that. That will be the portion. So if you look at the first column there, Jess, our allocation is
Yeah, that
925.
will be done yet.
That would be like the cash we would get from capital.
Yeah. But we then are you saying we don't lose 694.157?
Well, I mean, it depends how you look at it, right? Like, technically, correct. The park district isn't going to collect that money,
No,
but the community is going to save that money on their
Yeah.
tax bill.
then what you do is third column.
The third one of the 231,
Yeah,
the 231,
yeah.
that
What's
would
that?
be that's the money available for a capital project.
We have to spend and then get reimbursed. That equals the 925. You have to add those two columns.
Mhm. So we can still use, because David Park is ongoing, we can still submit David Park as our project for that 231. So even though we might have 300,000 or 400,000 more of expense for David Park, we're going to put on our grant application that the project is David Park, and then get that 231 back that way. These grants are difficult, and when things lag from like a DCEO or something, because technically this grant window was supposed to start July 1st of 2025. We just got these forms about. So
Actually, they're not difficult. You do that screen.
yeah,
That is a matter of waiting on the state.
yeah, that's that
It's
becomes
frustrating.
yeah, I agree. Yeah. Okay, so that was just my update on CETA.
Basically, we don't do the same thing either way we go.
What do you mean either way? If we don't abate the 694, we won't get the 231.
We won't get the 900 either.
The 900 is the total of the two. The 900 is the total of the two.
694 and 231.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah.
I wasn't putting thought together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I get it, but who needs
Yes.
I know. Right. It's
Thank you.
just DCEO's chart, yep.
Thank you, everyone.
Uh-huh.
Thank you, and put something.
Okay, the other thing I want to touch on real quick, because I know we want to get to our financial presentation.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have state conference coming up next week. All the commissioners have been registered. Reserved a hotel room at the Hyatt for everyone. I actually sent out your confirmations to your emails today. So you should have your confirmation, but either way, if you show up and give your name, it'll be under your name. Yeah, no problem. I can help you with it, or give a call when you're down there. But state conference will be exciting. I also wanted to go down and mention real quick that our aquatics team received the silver award for 2025. We received that letter on December 1st for their aquatic safety. So, yeah, that's a great job by Kay and the rec staff and all the young lifeguards that we have out there. I mean, it's difficult because they're young guards. A lot of them are new, so there's a lot of training and a big responsibility to keep the patrons safe.
How many are
Guards.
24 through 5
Yeah.
total staff. That includes admission.
I was going to ask Christine to share a little bit on the Big Brothers Big Sisters program that we partnered with that's running out of the Leisure Center. Hold it up a little bit.
Sure. So Big Brothers and Big Sisters currently have a program going in Waukegan and in North Chicago. They saw a need for some of their volunteers as well as the students for 6 and 126. So obviously, well, there's a transportation issue to have the youth get from here to Waukegan or Chicago to their other satellite locations where they do have Big Brothers Big Sisters programs. So through a partnership with them, they utilize our facility every other Wednesday. They meet here in this building, right down the hall, in one of the rooms. And they'll go downstairs and use the gym as well. They have 5 matches currently. They also have some bags and littles that we partner to have the right matches. But so far that program is going well. They love that we utilize the facility. More to go in the program.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's nice.
yeah, we use the facility to entice them to come up. Yeah, I definitely think we have to use the community for it.
Yeah, I think it's nice anytime we can use our facilities and partner with good organizations.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone touched on, the December holiday events that occurred, which were great. The last thing I wanted to mention real quick was there's a legislative breakfast coming up in Mundelein. I'm not sure who all attended last year. I think Carolyn did attend and maybe Doug. Mundelein Park District is hosting the 2026 legislative breakfast on February 27th. So that would be a good one for commissioners to attend. They invite all commissioners and executive directors and all the legislators that represent the various districts. So the IAPD Joint Legislative Committee puts this on. So IAPD really organizes this. So if you are free on that morning, it's 8 a.m. on Friday the 27th in London. I'll be happy to RSVP. And you don't have to tell me now. We have plenty of time to RSVP.
February 27th.
Yeah, 8 a.m. It usually lasts about 3 hours or so. It's a good opportunity to interact with other park board commissioners, to interact with the legislators that come. Hopefully Joyce Mason will be there, Mary Lee Allen will be there. Hopefully, I know Gina Roberts always attends from the county. So,
I think it's great for us to attend these functions. I haven't been able to go yet on the conflict of schedule.
Yeah.
Good job. But I do notice that sometimes it takes a couple of events to get to know the people and see their faces. But now I'm more comfortable about some of the legislators. They recognize me more.
Yeah.
We've talked about things.
Yeah.
Now they tell me about the kids and the dogs. Okay, so I guess I'm in.
Yeah, definitely. And it's beneficial. I mean, it's beneficial to have those relationships. I mean, that's how we get, some grant dollars, some line item allocations in the state budget. That's how we're able to call Joyce Mason and say, hey, we have a problem with this CEJA grant, we need it fixed. So yeah, it's very beneficial. So I'll remind, everyone again, and you kind of are able to look at your calendar, but I just want to mention that. So that was it for me, and then we'd be on new business number 9.
Then I should read this again. Number 9 is the ordinance, number 925, providing the issue of approximately $725,000 taxable general obligation tax bonds. Provide revenue for certain parks. Building, maintain, and improve and protect the same and existing land facilities of the district, and for the payment of the special providing for the levy of the district annual tax to pay for the principal interest of certain bonds and operating sale of said bonds for funding
That's why Aaron is here. So.
Great.
Evening, everyone. I'm going to introduce you to Sarah Johnson. She's our newest municipal advisor to Spirit Financial, and she's going to walk you through the pricing.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having us out this evening. As Aaron said, my name is Sarah Johnson. I'm new at Spear, but I've been helping Aaron with his Park District sales, this one included, so that's why I'm here helping present the results of your sale, and then we'll be here to answer any questions that you might have. This will be super brief, so I'm just going to jump right into the material we've got. The type of the bonds are taxable general obligation limited tax park bonds, series 2026. That GO piece just means that the bonds are secured by a direct property tax levy. And then the limited tax part just means that the bonds are limited as to how much the district can have outstanding in total. And then they're further constrained by how much the district is authorized to levy each year. The purpose of these bonds is to fill your annual levy and fund the district's annual rollover financing model. This includes the repayment of existing obligations, as was said earlier, and to provide additional new money to support the annual capital initiatives of the district. The bonds sold on Wednesday, January 14th. The district opted to do a self-purchase. We established a bid at 2.9%, and we got to this based off of over 40 comparable rollover sales that we've done over the past 3 months. With this rate, we resized the issue to $725,910 to fill the district's levying capacity. The bonds closed 2 weeks after pricing, so that lands us at about February 5th, 2026. And then the bonds are going to mature November 1st. With that being said, we therefore recommend that the district's corporate fund purchase the taxable general obligation and limited tax park bonds, series 2026, at the revised price of $725,910 at a net interest cost of 2.9%. And then we were just going to bring up a quick side note, but it was already mentioned and very well explained already about that seizure grant. We'll be doing a voluntary abatement ordinance at that February meeting for a portion of this levy in order to receive those funds. Any questions that we can answer? Eric already did a great job at kind of explaining everything, but.
No, I appreciate it.
Go ahead.
I don't want to wrong with this.
Okay,
I don't want you to be bought up bonds.
we did, and that is what we're doing again. That is what she was explaining about how the bonds were priced, right? Because they're not sold competitively,
Yeah.
so we're not taking bids from outside vendors. They go through. You want to talk about the process on how you price them?
Yeah, I mean.
Self-purchase.
I have your sheet up there of your.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, typically we do like a competitive bank placement, but it really is up to the district too, how you want to do it. The rates don't change a whole lot. And actually the rates have come down quite a bit from last year. Last year when you bid on your bonds, you were at 4.31%. Now we're at 2.9%, so that's always nice to see. And then essentially doing self-purchase is just like an internal transaction. So it just changes the accounting a little bit because it's not coming from outside. So it's really just accounting on the inside.
Yeah, I would say that when you self-purchase, the only way to fill this levy each year, your bond and interest levy, is to issue bonds. Who you sell those bonds to is completely up to you. So you could sell them to a bank where at closing they would infuse you with capital and then you pay the bank back plus interest. And in the self-purchase transaction, all you're really doing is you're not getting funds at closing. You're going to collect those property tax revenues from the levy cycle. What you're doing is you're restricting funds through a journal entry. So you're taking funds from your corporate fund and restricting them in your debt service fund. And that's the analysis that's done here. And it's really pretty clever on Eric's part because you've always got a fair buyer. You don't ever have to worry about, a local bank not showing up to bid on the day. And it's just a mechanism for filling the levy.
And you pay yourself. And you pay the interest to yourself.
Yeah.
Versus an external.
Interest revenue offsets interest expense. It's all offsetting. It's just a mechanism for restricting the funds legally and lawfully filling that levy.
Yeah, nice job.
Thank you. That's what by Aaron too.
Yeah.
So thank you.
The other thing that I would add about the voluntary abatement is Eric, came up with the idea of abating the debt service levy. And the way the debt service levy is, it's a fixed amount. It grows each year by a CPI adjustment. And that's what we size your bond issue to. So regardless of whether you fill it or don't fill it, however you use it, that base will always be there for you. So there's no compounding effect. In your operating funds, there is that compounding effect. So his workaround for you guys by a voluntary abating the bond and interest levy keeps you flexible in your operating levies. And that's kind of the win-win scenario for you here. And I thought that was really well thought out on Eric's part.
How often will this ordinance come up? Is it yearly?
Yeah, each year in January for probably a long time, we'll do this similar. We'll go through this similar routine each January.
Thank you, I appreciate it. And then there are some questions I have, I'm sort of trying to ask, particularly six, I'm actually buying the bonds myself.
How are you making money doing selling the bond to us?
I mean, kind of, I would say, because in the sense that we're not paying it to a bank, right? So I mean, this is like taking out a loan. When you take out a bond, it's like getting a loan, and instead of paying the interest to Old National Bank or Wintrust or whoever buys it, right?
And the way I look at that analysis is it's an opportunity cost analysis. So you're restricting funds, you're taking funds from your corporate fund, you're earmarking it for debt payments in your debt service fund. And the opportunity cost is, can I be investing those funds in my corporate fund at a higher rate than the bond yield? And so that's what Eric and I talk about annually. And it's a clean way. You always know you're going to get fairly priced because we look at all of the other park district deals that we sell. So it's pretty foolproof on your part to just be as efficient as possible with filling that levy.
And I learned about the bonds too. So I appreciate your time, thank you. Is that orders?
Yeah, we would need a motion on number 9.
Do we have a motion? We can get a motion. I know everybody is working, so. I present. I'll read what I did. The move for that's
Commissioner Mason, President Flynn.
You guys are gonna head out.
Great to see you. Thank you. We'll see you in a month.
Yeah,
Appreciate you.
are you getting some kind of conference?
Oh, for sure. Please, everyone, stop and see us. Say hi.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Doctor,
Yes, stop by.
I think you got my number.
Yeah. Thank you.
No.
Good night.
Oh, see ya. Bye, guys.
Okay, bye guys. Thank you. Second, Alan.
No, see my smart girl, I just want to ask her if she would rather kick field goals. So, it's that time of year.
Yeah, I want to see a replay of
Not over it yet.
Yeah.
So, switching this around a little bit from rounds of revenue and reviews, I wanted to show you a couple of reviews first on Shepherd's Crook to just kind of give you a feel for what our customers are saying about us. They're representative of almost 100% of the reviews we get. I'll just read it. It's kind of additions for some people. Great layout with country club conditions, one of my favorite courses, even though it's a long drive. I wish every course on Golf Now had this conditioning. Big grass fairways, 3.5-inch rough, fast greens that are complex, good sand in bunkers, good GPS on carts. Have played private clubs that were not this good. A little longer, hidden gem is an understatement. Play a lot of golf, probably 40 to 50 rounds a year, and always try to play at least 10 to 15 new courses a year. This course got on my radar over the last few months as I had been seeing a lot of videos on social media calling it a hidden gem of the Midwest, one of the best courses to play in Illinois. To say this is a hidden gem would be an understatement. The course was in phenomenal shape, and the layout is fantastic. A lot of the fairways are very wide and forgiving, but the course is still challenging. Some long par fives, some long par threes, but also very attackable. Par fours. The greens are very undulated, quick, but also surprisingly not as difficult as expected. The staff is so friendly. They let us hit the simulator without charge prior to warm-up. The pace was amazing. We did play on Mother's Day morning, so nobody was there. And they had friendly rangers cruising the course. Food was solid. The brats are great. It was a 1 hour drive from the city, but honestly, I would have driven 2 hours for this course. Well, 100,000%, I think that is. Going back at least 3 or 4 more times this time. So, yeah. And so as we talk about rates, obviously, demand speaks to how much in demand your product is. And if you go back, this is a 10-year chart or 11-year chart. Back in 2015, we were doing 21,815 rounds. And we'll probably end this year, because April is the end of our fiscal year. We've still got 1 month to go. I'm anticipating 33,220 rounds. That's a 52% increase in rounds played in 10 years. If you go back and look at the revenue generated in 2015, it was $976,803. Today we're at 2.3 million, and that's not with a record April. That's just with an average April. We'll get to 2.3 million. When you look at the next slide, Mr. Bradley, 135% increase. When you go back and you look at the revenue per round, this takes into consideration everything, not just golf fees, but merchandise and food and beverage, which is $130,000, which is a double in those 10 years. Out of pocket, folks are giving us $44.78 back in 2015. Now it's approaching $70 at $69.24. That's a 55% increase in revenue per round over that 10-year period. You have, if you go to one more slide, Mr. Bradley, I've listed what we would consider our competitive set here on the bottom. Steeplechase, which is Mundelein Park District, ourselves here second. Bonnybrook out of Waukegan, Bittersweet out of Gurnee, Stonewall Orchard and Grays Lake, Thunderhawk just down the road here, Lake Bluff Park District, and Pine Meadow, which is also in Mundelein. This $99, if you've seen the rate sheet, these all represent their peak rates, which would be weekend 18 holes with a cart. Okay, just for comparative purposes. So the dotted line represents, and I didn't take any real latitude. I might have moved some of our competitors up $1 or $2 because this represents our recommended rate at $99 for Shepherd's Crook. You can see that we're still under a lot of the top tier golf courses that we're compared with and are in people's competitive set. So with that,
The rate sheet is in your packet. I can bring it up as well. Yeah.
That's not you.
These columns here in the black are residents, so you can easily see what the resident rates are from 2025 to 2026. These would be the rate increase that we're recommending. Those are the top line here is Monday through Thursday. So some things did not change. Some moved $5 max. Twilight we bumped up $9. non-resident from 2025 to 2026. We were probably a little bit under in 2025. At that point, plus those late rounds on that are twilight, keep the carts out until almost after dark, drive the labor expense out there. The whole staff, when you take a staff of 5 or 6 people, $15, $16, $17 an hour, you're talking about spending $75 and $80 an hour in labor just to wait on folks to come in. So we kind of want to cover some of that labor expense with an increased rate in that spot. That's not a needle mover. That's not going to generate a lot of money, but it's going to let us capture some of that expense. The only structural thing that we're recommending different on our weekday structure, many golf courses that are in our strata, if you would say, actually charge weekend rates on Fridays. Since COVID, demand has exploded, as you can see on that chart, going from 21,000 rounds to 33,000 rounds. There's an opportunity there to, and we didn't go to, we're not recommending going to the full $99 weekend rate on a Friday. We opted for yeah, scroll down one more time. Right. $79 rate. So that's going for, these are the non-residents going from 64 to 79 after 9 a.m. until basically 3 p.m. So we've got an 85% utilization rate on Fridays. And we believe that we can capture $25,000 to $30,000 more just by choosing that structure. And we're still taking care of our loyal seniors because we're still allowing them prior to 9 a.m. up a little bit to still get that senior rate of $59. So we're not displacing those folks off of that day entirely. We're just saying, come in the morning, give us 9 to 3 to capture what we believe we're entitled to, and or you can come twilight later in the day. That those are 100% utilized from that 9 to 3. We don't on Fridays, and we're not recommending at this point, not this year, to make us prepaid like the weekends are. We require weekend tea times before 12 o'clock to be prepaid because no shows cost us money. No show up, I can sell that tea time on $400 every 12 minutes.
So some of the golf courses open.
We're open at each season. We're open at 6 o'clock. Usually July and August. On weekends it's 5:30. Absolutely, no. So, you can see most of these rates are in the $5 changes. Outside of the Fridays have gone up $10 and some $5 increments. I don't necessarily need to go through each rate with you, but you can see on the right side the dollar change for the residents versus the non-residents. The residents are a very small segment of our round total at Shepherd's Strip. And the nice thing is we've got the conditions of Shiloh's and that's a viable alternative for folks who are saving money over there. But we did take care of the residents. Go down.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think it's interesting how Alan prices this and approaches, the recommended rates when it comes to you guys. I mean, it's really been thought out. Not only has he researched competitors and what they're charging on the different days and times, but also just kind of like his experience and empirical evidence of being around at the golf course and kind of knowing when it's full, when it's busy, seeing how it's utilized.
It's good to have a good feel for customer. But I really like that. I'm more analytical based. So you do the spreadsheet, comparing those guys up.
And I didn't want to, I had an expert because he has a stable health and Chicago that he represented through Golf Now as their rep, and he was telling me last year he should be $116. I just don't want to keep that $100 price point if I can. It might have to happen next year, but I think we can go at 99. I'm still under 100 and $26 under some of the other folks. But this isn't a profit maximization strategy. We're still at $95. We still out of a 5-point scale still get 4.8 reviews. So they still consider it.
Know that $100 has some type of value in the way people look at it.
Yeah.
And not that, not of course, not over $100.
Yeah, the Glen Club in $220.
I have a question about Friday. Are a lot of golf courses doing Friday on the weekends like a school? I don't know. Doing Friday, Saturday, Sunday
Yes.
as a weekend?
Yes. And that's just simply based on demand. We're not selling a tangible product, we're selling time. If we don't capture that revenue, not like sure I can sell tomorrow, it's gone.
Yeah.
You know, it's money left on the table. If you go into the weekends now, that's Friday, but structurally that's the only change we really had outside of some nominal rate increases. For the weekends, Friday's the only change. Monday through Thursday is one segment, and Friday is another, and then the weekends. So are we still on Fridays? If you scroll down just a little bit, you'll get into the weekends. So you can see 99 for a non-resident, for a resident 69. So there's a $30 savings for a resident. Shepherd's Crook. There are golf courses and park districts that even years ago, even before I arrived here 2 years ago, just because of the sheer demand, they were eliminating resident rates. And that's a significant, there's a generosity from the park district when you've essentially got 2 golf courses to take your money, your revenue producing property and giving them So, $5 increases for the resident, $4 increase, $10 for non-residents.
Questions on Shepherds, or go move on to Shiloh?
No.
Move on to Shiloh?
Thank you. Ellen, that was good for Shepherd.
Shiloh, a couple of reviews from Shiloh to start off with. 5-star Little Gym in Zion. Shiloh is a great course, always well kept. Had the course to ourselves. Great day at the course. Excellent value conditions. Shiloh is great. I played this course many times over the years as it's very local to where I live. There's nothing particularly difficult or super interesting about this course, but over the last 2 years, the conditions of this course have improved dramatically to the point of where it is in as good a condition or better as any other local golf course in the area. I would not hesitate to recommend this course to anyone. No restaurant, no alcohol, just friendly staff, fabulous course conditions. A couple of things about Shiloh. Rounds played to date were 14,176. 20% of those rounds are played by residents. Shiloh still, as Shepherd is, very dependent on non-residents at 80%. Golf fees this year, thus far, $275,000, $200 in fees, $75,000 in carts. Season passes, we had 40 of those, 20 resident, 20 non-resident for $21,100. food and beverage and merchandise was 10,000. I pulled out some old records and put you in the Wayback Machine here 25 years ago. Shepherd's first opened. 31,385 rounds put through Shiloh Park. Today, we'll end up at about 16,000. So half as much activity at Shiloh today as there was 25 years ago. I don't look at that as a bad thing where we sit now, because that shows us that there's a lot of inventory there still to be sold. That was one of the reasons that I wanted to start focusing a couple of years ago on the conditions of the course. Now this shows you though that the trend line, the directional arrows changed a little bit. If you go back just to 2023, we were doing 13,825 rounds, 15.5 in 2024, and 16 in 2025. If you go down one more, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, we were generating $17.50 per round, and we're at $20 today. So you can see just on this number here, every 1,000 rounds more I can generate at Shiloh's $20,000 more dollars. So if I go from 16 to 17 to 18,000 rounds to 20,000 rounds over there, you'd be generating another $100,000 a year. 100 to 150, because this is last year's price point. This just gives you kind of a visual to look at real quick. This is what I think the competitive set is for Shiloh. This would be the recommended peak rate at Shiloh, which again is with the golf cart, non-resident. $35. You can see Greenshire's $25, kind of a different product than Shiloh is. It's a par 3 golf course exclusively. Grays Lake is also a par 3 golf course. Then you've got the homeowner community out in Gurnee, Heather Ridge. Oak Hills is down in Palos Heights, Flag Creek. Schaumburg is 43. Rob Roy, Tam-o'-Shanter's, Niles Park District, and Belmont's the oldest golf course in the United States. Later turned into Chicago Golf Club, but it's a 9-holer in Downers Grove, which is $43 peak rate. These are their prices from 2025. I would anticipate those would go up, but I didn't want to put a slide up there with information that wasn't verifiable. So if you go down one more, again, this column these two columns 2025, this column 2026. Residents moving $2 for 9 holes. This is under 60 years old. Seniors up $1, juniors up $1, riding cars staying the same. Non-resident 9 holes under 60 years old, going from 21 to 25. $2 increase on the seniors and the juniors as well. Season passes, residents up $20 if you're under 60. That's okay. PowerPoint's fun to navigate, isn't it? All the way back down.
Wheel mouse either.
Hey, again,
I gotta go too.
$20 increase, $50 increase on non-residents under 60. Seniors 60 and over, $25 increase and a $30 increase. And the juniors, $5 increase on both of those. Negligible increases. The season passes, I've always priced them requiring almost 40 rounds to break even, and these are in the low 30 range to break even. So they're very affordable still. The thing that I don't mind about those season passes being as inexpensive as they are is almost all of them, 90% of them take riding cards. So there's additional revenue to be generated. These are not carding.
Yeah, I had to 645 to add 1,500 onto the my car.
Right.
Yeah,
Additional
but
revenue.
like sausage places, I'm like, I liked when you keep on this, you know, people,
And you know, we still want to make the course affordable for the community and give the residents a nice discount.
Without increasing no one in the condition of the course.
Right.
You see the general law increase the people using the course too.
Right.
And then I'll have it out with you. Do a great job of trying to develop it here, trying to develop a plan of what we're looking forward to. Like we talked about some of the issues with part of the difficulties that we've done. We can't do them all the time.
And the other thing, and I think it's always worth saying too, again, no property tax money goes into our golf operations. So when we have capital improvements, capital requirements, that's all funded by the revenues of the course. So if we put, you know, 500,000 or 600,000 into the parking lot, you know, we have to earn that money and put it in. It's not property tax money going again, like how we build parks, right? So again, as we're generating profit for both of the courses, for the most part, especially in recent years, that profit's been going right back reinvested into the course, whether it's course conditions, you know, course equipment, which you guys know because you've through it quite a bit.
And at the end of the day, you know, the user is a great experience.
Yeah.
But that's a big value for what you get. That's something people see that too.
And one thing I would say is, because the board has been very open to the capital equipment, things that I needed, we're in a position that if this economy took over, I have no deferred needs. A new pumping station was put in, the well, pump house was redone. We're just in a very good spot that we can weather 3 or 4 years of not buying much new equipment. So we've taken the good years and we've struck while the iron's hot.
And there's no much presentation. Someone will we present to us makes it very understandable. To wrap our head around what we're doing.
Share that equipment from Shepherd's to Shiloh, and that's one of the reasons the Shiloh is in the condition it is, because we spent the money at Shepherd's and productive, high quality equipment. We just have to drag it down the road.
You guys do amazing. Everybody I know love both places. They don't play Shepherd, they play Shiloh, they do love it. When I started playing golf, I would go to different places. Like, all the courses, I'm like, man, are you serious? And like you said, the rates that we pay to play, our two courses, to me, are unbelievable. Unheard of. I played at some courses all around the country, and it's like courses that I'm like, really want to play this much?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's good to glad my sons are paying. I
Right.
would put my club back in the car. I would not play. But you guys keep the course, you know, everybody talks about Shepherds and Shepherds. Course in Illinois, you know, people talk about it like that. And I had guys come up when I was over there, come up from like Chicago, Indiana, wanting to play either Shepherds or they might be going to play Thunderhawk. And they would stop at Shiloh. They said somebody told them that was a good place to learn. And they would leave, they would like, this is better. You guys
They work hard over there.
amazing.
Ellen, I'd like to do something. So, we times last year, I, I got my club. I talked to everyone in China. If I don't know, hi, how are you? I'm from Indiana. I got one teach on at 2 o'clock. I'm gonna play China for them. A lot of people will go play China in the morning, then go play Shepherd in the you got both concerts that people want to play both in one day.
Yeah,
So we, for the board to approve these rates and now we'll factor them into his budget. And
So we have motion to raise as presented.
Almost.
Oh.
Thank you very much.
Are you ready?
He's gonna hang around for the next item.
Yeah, because
Now, the next item will be the Shepherd's Crook, donation policy.
So that policy is on PDF page 77 of your packet, just a one-page policy. This is a policy that we would like to put in effect. It doesn't exist now. There is no formal policy or anything. But Alan, Kara, and I collaborated together to put this policy together to present to the board. So, you know, I'll let Alan, since he's here, this is why we presented it today as well, to talk a little bit why we feel like we actually need a policy. And, you know, why the bullet points are kind of the criteria to meet the policy for a donation. So when we're talking about a donation, we're talking about, you know, a charity or some organization that comes to us frequently and says, hey, we're having a fundraiser. Can we get a force fund at Shepherd's Crook to sell at our charity event? Right? So we get a lot of those, especially with the course increasing in popularity. It's really getting to become quite a bit. So I'll let Alan expand on that a little bit.
well, years ago, Shepherd's Crook was operating about a 53% utilization rate, and now it's over 80. So you could always fit folks in with free foursome and not really displacing dollars. Now we're getting inundated with so many of these. And part of it is it's becoming very expensive to get into that. And number two, without having any guidelines or criteria, I end up offending somebody because I can't take care of all of them. You know, I can't take care of every animal shelter that wants a foursome for golf that's $360. We currently, in our donations, other park districts that ask us, we give $1,000 worth of certificates in 2025. Police and fire, about $1,750. ZDPHS 2,000. Rotary 1,500. And Kiwanis 1,000. That's over $7,000. We have in the past done Kenosha Boys and Girls Club, Racine Boys and Girls Club. And a lot of those, but we have to finally come to a point of saying we need some
Parameters,
on
yes.
this, parameters, because I can't take care of all of them without it being $25,000 revenue. We're not still offending somebody. We looked at 501c3s. Is that a filter? And it's just not, because my buddies and I can have a fantasy football league and make a 501c3 out of it.
Yeah.
And so that doesn't do anything for us. So, as you can see, we Eric tasked Kara and I with looking at other park districts and what they were doing. Some of them didn't have formal policies, but some of them also did. And they also started out with, because of the increase in demand for these certificates, we've had to come up with a policy. But we're just asking, and this can obviously be revised if it needs to be revised, but local taxing bodies, we'd be willing to offer a certificate to within Zion Benton Township, Illinois Park Districts or Foundations, or an Illinois Forest Preserve District, Zion-based not-for-profits that provide a service to the residents of Zion, a group with a long-standing relationship with the Zion Park District, and strategic partners with the Park District. And we'd like to eliminate those to one per group per year.
That leads to dollar.
And so as you go through, some of those bullet points and figure like what kind of groups fall into which bullet points and who gets excluded. I mean, when you're talking about a local taxing body within the Zion Benton Township, I mean, you're talking about, so yes, we want to give donations to the high school and to the Zion Police Department, the fire department, even the Winthrop Harbor, potentially Winthrop Harbor Fire Department or Police. That's why we made it Zion Benton Township, not just the city of Zion. Illinois Park Districts or its foundation, or a Forest Preserve District. We put Forest Preserve District on there, obviously, to include Lake County Forest Preserve, so you're talking about Thunderhawk. And we would go to them and ask for a reciprocal donation at times. So the Forest Preserve is going to cover, Lake County Forest Preserve and an Illinois Park District. A lot of times, that's just good for us to be good, industry partners with someone like Waukegan Park District, Kearney Park District. A lot of these park districts that we'll collaborate with on other things, share information and stuff like that. So I think it makes sense to give it to another park district. Yeah, Jess?
Could you, let's say, someone asks for something, can you put on them, but not on the weekends?
They're on weekends after 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
We don't have them take up the peak period. Now those are getting so busy as well.
And then there'll be some of the donation. I was looking for those donations. Us is to be a prime opportunity. And I really like what you've done here and trying to find some standards, some parameters for this. But I don't know, curiosity, what is it like local taxing bodies using this for? Raffle or?
Well, the firefighters, for example, yes, we'll have a fundraiser for the firefighters. We hosted it last year at Shepherd's Crook, where Zion and Waukegan fire departments had a fundraiser for the firefighters.
They pay us $10,000.
Yeah, they did pay us. They did pay us for the course, as anyone would, to host a fundraiser. But they use it as a raffle prize.
I understood like some of the other ones that they in the high school.
So they use it for their booster, for their ZBTHS booster club.
Yeah, I just understand that the fire department is always. Now, is there anything built into this that talks about that? So that how the gift has to be used?
Yes, we have it written right on the certificate. Used after 12 o'clock on weekends.
No, I mean the purpose of it. So let's say we give it to a tax body. Do we have any control on how they use it? They use it for fundraising. What prohibits them from taking? Yeah. So some people just want to come out. They get a certificate.
So typically we do request the flyer on the event. So if they're saying, oh, we're having a fundraiser event, even if it's not at our course, at this other course, and this is a fundraiser, we say, okay, send us a copy of your flyer promoting your fundraiser event. Now, once we give it to them, Dave, the person that collects it, could that guy put it in his pocket and use it for his buddies? Sure, we wouldn't know. I mean, we wouldn't know. No, unless we actually attended the event and saw it.
So could we have maybe not this year, but in the future, have a disclaimer or something saying that we can cancel it if
Yeah. I mean, we could modify this policy right now to say that, or we can add a line in there.
She's building that on the website now. We've never had a donation button. Go on there and it kind of tell you, well, I guess my local humane society won't qualify chasing us down for certificates all the time.
But I do like the fact that we have the cap on. How much that we put down each year.
And it protects us, to be honest. I mean, I have to answer for why I do what I do.
Yeah.
And why I gave one to the Antioch High School boys baseball team that had so many requests, I didn't give one to the girls softball team. I just can't do them all. So.
Is there a cap on this financial cap?
We haven't established a budget yet. I mean, we're at about $7,500. If I go back and look at Kiwanis, Rotary, DBT, police and fire, that's where we are, and that's what we had talked about at the next level. Do we want to create a budget?
I think that's what the next class would be standard and say, okay, we get our cap for the year.
Yeah, those
Yeah,
are
we
good suggestions. So you'd like Dave to see us add two things. One, maybe on the policy, the first thing we add is Park District will honor this policy each year up to the amount of $10,000.
Something like that,
And then the second one would be the Park District reserves the right to cancel the donation if we believe it's not used for the intended purpose or something.
And then the partnership has a sole say on what they do.
And we talked about, there's not an assumption made that simply because you received a certificate this year that you'll be entitled to one.
Yeah. So the certificate, and they do have an expiration date on them. So someone can't hold it. We can definitely modify this policy to kind of add those two.
Have a cap on it.
Mhm.
So you just you know what you want. If we have to expand the cap,
Yeah.
maybe we should do that. We have to limit it. I like the idea of having some guidance. Kind of a vote for this?
Yeah.
So we have a motion to approve the separate group, golf course donation policy. Second.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Thank you for coming, taking off.
I got an interview.
I Dowie.
Where do you want the salary? Yeah, right, not right now.
Thank you.
So moving on, we'll go to item number 12 here, resolution number 924, inter-fund transfers.
Yeah, the last two items here on the agenda are just kind of some housekeeping items. This one is the interfund transfer, which is budgeted in our current year budget. So, I mean, again, another thing to mention that Shepherd Script does, which is another force for good, is it moves $50,000 into the recreation fund. So, Shepherd Script, we actually do take $50,000 of profit out of Shepherd's and move it into the recreation fund, and we've kind of designated that for like our concert series, our summer concert series. That money pays for all the free concerts throughout the summer. So this resolution is just to kind of formally make that transfer from fund to fund. Just moves the money over. And then the second line on there is to move money from the recreation fund into Shiloh Pool. I think this year we budgeted about $135,000 to be transferred from the recreation fund into the pool. That $135,000 expected amount is basically what the pool uses each year. So it's just the recreation fund kind of subsidizing the pool. So we are typically in the past few years, we've done about $120,000 at this point in the year. And then when we get to the last month of the fiscal year, we'll do the remainder. But the remainder being essentially whatever it is to bring the pool back up to zero. We are budgeting, like I said, about $135,000 in total. If you look at the financials right now, my estimate would be that's probably going to be about $155,000 in total that the rec fund this year is going to have to put into the pool. So we would do this 120 now, and we'd probably do the other 35,000 estimated.
I'm curious why the
Why the difference from the budget? Wages were higher, repairs and maintenance expenses were higher than we had budgeted. Wages were a little higher because we had to get the two new lifeguards, the head aquatics person and the assistant aquatics person. They were brand new this year to us. So it took a little more time and training and a little more, holding their hands and more hours for them to kind of get up to speed and be effective. And then just some maintenance costs too were a little higher than we anticipated with some breaks and repairs and Rich having to find a leak early on in the season.
we have a motion for the number 924 in fund transfers.
Aye.
Aye. And the final item here, we added budget review session for fiscal year 26.
Yep, so PDF page 80 in your packet has the budget session dates for March. So this again is where we sit down and have additional meetings to go through budgets for the upcoming fiscal year. So you'd have one budget meeting on Thursday, March 12th at 5:30. And then we'd have the next budget meeting the following week on March 19th. That would be at 5:30 before our March board meeting. And again, right now is the time in the year when staff are working to put together budgets and analyze numbers and getting everything ready for the upcoming season. So we'll review the budget for the different funds on those dates. How I mean, it could be as long as you want it to be. They're probably, honestly, they're probably, I was gonna say an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Honestly, depending on how many questions you guys have.
You cut it down usually we get in there before we wasn't able to buy it.
Before, yeah. I mean, unless things are really gonna change significantly from the way we do things in the prior year, I don't think we need to actually go through every line item and say.
Actually, I've answered a lot.
Yeah, good. Yeah, good.
So, yeah, and that actually makes it easier the next time I look at something that I know what.
Sure.
So again,
If those dates work for you guys and times.
we have a motion on the table to accept the dates for the budget session for fiscal year 2027.
Aye.
Aye. We don't have an executive.
Look to make sure.
We have a motion to adjourn the meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Can you use my office?